Well, thank you everybody for being here, and just wow. To anybody that was involved in that wonderful event out there in the foyer, it definitely will make this day even more memorable. But I want it to be memorable for what we're going to discuss today, and also I want it to be a day where it lasts with you, hours, days, weeks afterwards, because that is what we're all here for. We're all on a journey, and I'm a true believer that this journey is a journey that we should all be on together. So when we decided on this event and putting it together, we wanted to make it interactive. We wanted everyone to feel that they were part of it. They were part of that journey, part of the messaging, that everyone had a voice. You will see everywhere outside, we've got pledge boards, points of thoughts for conversation. We want everyone to be talking to one another about what we can do to actively be allies. And I use that word quite clearly, to be an active ally. And that to me is action and choosing action. So one of the things we wanted to do to get everyone feeling involved is we're not going to use Slido today or one of the virtual tools to ask you some Q&A. We're going to be using these paddles. So as Natasha has clearly explained, this obviously means no, and this means yes. So I'm just going to get us started so we can practice that we know how to use these. So can everyone find their paddle, please? Okay, so first question, is today International Women's Day? Yes. Oh, we've got a drop in the front. Thank you very much. Okay, so we know how to use it. Thank you. In my talk, what I want to do is I want to talk about our blind spot. I want to talk about visibility or lack of visibility within the sector. And I want to talk about the gross gender imbalance that we face. So to give you a bit of background on me, I have worked as a recruiter for the past 18, 19 years. I've always placed technologists or salespeople into the world of financial services, as in which that has changed over the time, and whatever it's been called, fintech, financial technology, financial services at large. And I have always been slapped in the face with the gross gender imbalance that I see within that process and within working as a recruiter. And my first question to you all, whatever sector you're in, whatever area within that sector you work in, do you see a gender imbalance within your sector? Okay, so we are mainly green again. Okay, now this is about active allyship. So I'm going to ask another question. Who would say yes to them being an active person in attracting more women to their space? Nice. I saw some really fast hands going up as well, which I love. Well done. Okay, so we're active, right? Now this is my next part. So I don't think it's only about attracting that talent and attracting those people. I think it's about looking after those people, investing in them, making sure environments are supportive of them, making sure that those individuals are progressed fairly and they are given the opportunity to be recognised fairly in the workplace. Who would say that they are active within that? Okay, right, I'm really liking this. So thinking about that, the gross gender imbalance that we all said yes to, who thinks it's going to get better on its own? If you think it's going to get better on its own, yeah, okay, right. All reds, of course. Who thinks that we should all be doing something about it? Yes, okay, so we are all in the right place today, because this is what today is all about, how we can learn to be more active allies to one another. And I wanted to start by talking about a program that I run for gender equality, which is called the 19% list. And I'm going to take you on the journey of where that program came from. And really, it's about my ecosystem. And it's about the fact that I decided a long time ago that if no one else, if I keep actively looking at this industry saying there's a problem, but no one's really driving that change, who can drive that change? And me as a recruiter, I decided to see it as a responsibility. So I started looking at what the issue was. Yes, there's a gross gender imbalance, but actually it's bigger than that. It's some of the things that I've been alluding to now. It's the environment in which individuals are brought into and how well they're supported within those environments. And as a recruiter, one of the things that I've always been passionate about, it's not just landing somebody that job, it's being able to look at what happens to them in their career. How are they promoted? How are they progressed? What celebrations can you have with that individual, knowing that you introduced them to that company and look at what they've become within that company? And look, when you've been in recruitment for 18 years, you can say that you've been able to see quite a lot of people do that. And there's been some wonderful positives, but there's also been some negatives there that I've been really, really aware of. And I've been privy to, and I've been at the end of phone calls with tears, with anger, with emotion, because of how unfair the industry can be. And I've been able to see all of that. So when I talk about my ecosystem, I believe that active allyship is about action and actioning that. But at the beginning of my career, I didn't really know what that looks like. I knew I cared, but I didn't really know exactly what I could do about it. And it really landed very clearly to me when myself, Toby Babb sitting at the front, and a couple of others, we started the company Harrington Starr in 2010. And I looked back at the first 5 years of my recruitment career, always placing techies into financial services. And I counted up all the placements that I'd done. And they were in the hundreds, 300 and something. And there were only 2 women in that whole group. That is way less than the percentage that was actually living and breathing within that sector. And I'm someone who's passionate about this, but I hadn't been an active ally. In fact, I'd been complicit because I hadn't challenged the system. I'd let the system just run its course. And what was interesting about those 2 women that I had placed, I remember those placements like they were yesterday because they were tough placements. Those women were scrutinized way more than the other individuals that I placed were. Their process of application was at a completely different level. And we all hear it, different hoops to jump through, things like that. And I looked at that and I thought, can I continue being a silent witness to this? A witness to the inadequacies and inequalities within our sector? And I knew that some change had to happen. But I'll be really honest, I didn't know what the hell to do. I didn't know. We'd started the business. We had huge goals for what we wanted to do for the business. How was little old me going to make any impact on this? So I decided to start my research. And my research was simply calls and calls and calls and meetings and meetings and meetings and having real and open conversations. And the beauty of being a recruiter is I'm not your exit interview and I'm confidential. So you can tell me the truth. Now, there's, I say the beauty in that, but there's also a lot of heartache in that as well, because I've heard so many truths of how bad things can be. But I've also heard so many actions of how good things can get and what those steps are. So when I talk about over 10,000 hours of research, it really has been. Every call, every interview feedback, every conversation about how that interview went, what onboarding looked like. I have positioned myself to have these conversations with so many women so that I knew where to start and what to do. However, the real problem really hit me in the face when I had this revelation, the revolving door revelation, the 17% revelation. Now, again, I'm talking in my ecosystem, my part of the world that I have been privy to, my part of the world that I wanted to actively change and actively drive forward. And this revolving door of female talent hit me squarely in the face in 2020. Because I knew we had a problem. I'd done my research. I knew that the industry was moving forward. Policies are getting better. Events are happening. People are asking the question, but why wasn't the needle moving? And this question really played on my mind. But 2020, let's go back to it. We all went into lockdown, right, in the March. Well, in the April, I gave birth to a gorgeous baby girl. And at the time, I lived in a matchbox flat very close to the city. And, you know, if we take our minds back to that time, we were all scared to go out. We didn't want to bump into people. Where I knew I would never bump into anybody with a newborn is in the city. And because I lived close to there, I'd walk through Paternoster Square, East Sheep. I'd walk all the way up to Tower Hill some days. I'd go and have a look at Westminster. No one was there. It was dead. But the interesting thing was I walked past pretty much all my clients in the financial services sector. And I'm holding this tiny newborn. And I thought to myself, what happens if she wants to be part of this? Can I? And at that point, I'd been in the industry, 16 years, 17 years. I thought, can I stand there and allow for this to progress at the rate that it's progressing? And where will we be when she's 16, 17? And will I be able to stand by and say, I encourage you to enter that sector? Or will I say to her, please don't, it's far too much far too much heartache for you to have to handle. So that really, really drove me to do some more research and more change. And the research that I did at that point was I learnt that across all technology roles in the UK, only 17% of them were filled by women. So I learnt that, and that was a bad stat, of course, but what was even worse was that that had not changed for 8 years. And this is the revolving door that really, really hits me smack in the face. So for 8 years, that figure of 17% had stayed the same. Every time a woman was leaving the industry, one was entering. We weren't having two entering and one leaving. It was a complete revolving door. So what are we doing? Why is it that so many women are leaving at such a fast pace? What is happening within this sector? And one thing that I really knew that I could start affecting was the visibility of those women, the successes of those women, exactly what their experiences were, and a learning of how we can ensure that the positive experiences could start to grow across the industry. And one thing that we at Harrington Starr have always been so passionate about in all our recruitment endeavours is we celebrate the great within the industry. I don't want to stand here moaning about what's bad. We want to celebrate what's great and why people should join this industry. And at that point, I knew that I had to draw more attention to the good areas within the industry, to the reasons why people were succeeding, why women were being looked after, and what we could do about that. And a huge part of it was that there was a lack of visibility of that female talent. So there was this sort of myth that everyone said to me and still says to me, women don't exist in technology roles. Whenever they've put an advert out and they get 100 blokes responding to it, they get one woman, they don't exist in technology roles. Well, they do, and there was 17%. Now, as of the beginning of this year, the stat it goes up and down, but I can confidently land on that we are at 19% within the technology sector across the UK. But there's still a lack of visibility, and there's still a lack of understanding of the environment. So I want to ask everyone just to be aware of what colour seat you're sitting on. Okay, everyone on the purple seats, I would like for you to stand up. Okay, so everyone standing up, this represents 19% of our room today. These are the 19% of the individuals working in technology in the UK today. I just want you thinking, this 19%, everyone else that's sitting down, should we look after this 19%? Should we support this 19%? They're the minority. What should we be doing to level the playing field for this 19%? But also, my work in this sector is about giving visibility to this 19%. We see them right now, don't we? But now if everyone stands up, please. And now if my purple chaired 19% sit down, how visible are they now? And this is exactly what I talk about in all the work that I do as a recruiter. Thank you, everybody. Please, can you take a seat? But this is the work that I talk about because many people question, what is a recruiter talking about inclusion for? This is exactly it, because actually I have the visibility of it all, and it's about making sure we are flipping that narrative and looking at it from that angle. There are other things to flip the narrative on. We still accept some myths. We say, why don't women apply to our job adverts? Why aren't women staying in our businesses? We say, why haven't they decided to join the fintech world or the financial technology community? The onus is always on the women rather than what are we doing to make our environment attractive to these individuals? What are we doing to change the system of writing adverts as a way of attracting that talent? So I wanted to use all the research that I had done. I wanted to use the knowledge that I'd gained. The knowledge was around pay, promotion, and recognition. These were our 3 points of failure in the industry and across many industries. They come up time and time again, and we're not getting this right, and we're not getting it fair. And so I thought, how do I bring that into the system of recruitment and challenge that traditional system of recruitment? And this is where the 17% list and now the 19% list has begun. It's flipping that narrative, and it's making sure that people know that we don't need to follow the system that's always been in place. So the world of financial services has changed immensely in the last 20 years. The way of recruiting into it has not changed at all. So I wanted to change that. And so What I did when Nina was 4 weeks old in the sling, I decided I'm going to try and do a change here. I've got loads of clients that ask me for better visibility of female talent. I have that visibility. So I signed them up to this program. I started with only 10. And the program was every 2 weeks, I'm going to give you the visibility that I have of women within the space or looking to get into the space. Those women that you don't think exist, the ones in DevOps, security, project management, whatever it may be. And I sent an email and I made calls and I made repetitive calls and I was there on a cycle every 2 weeks. And I haven't broken that cycle once since I started this in 2020. And this is very, very it is challenging, that system of recruitment. It's very new, it's very different. It's me saying we don't need to look at every single job spec exactly. Instead, look at the talent, look at the potential, look at where this individual could become and be within your business. This to me was the blind spot, and that blind spot that I wanted you all to see when I got you standing up and sitting down. So I wanted to give every week on week, evidence examples and case studies, and the results have been really interesting. So we now have over 600 women who've participated within the program, over 200 clients who have come to me and said, I want to be part of this listing and I want to have that visibility. And we have role created for 143 of those women, which is fantastic. However, this is just a drop in the ocean. And this is the thing that I really want everyone to take away today. I've been sharing my ecosystem, my drivers, my work, and what I wanted to do in the tiny world that I can affect. But my whole belief on this and active allyship is that point in your mind where you say, let me have a look at my ecosystem and what can I do? Because those fantastic numbers of change that I've just shared with you, it's only 143. It's only 600 of the women. It's only 200 of the companies within our sector when there's thousands. Where's the rest? Who else is being active within this? So I believe this is just a drop in the ocean. And I want that to turn into a tidal wave. And I know it can because of days like this. So I hope I leave you thinking, what can be your drop in the ocean that all of us together makes a tidal wave? Thank you very much.